Hello, and welcome to the fourth video of the CodeGenHero tutorial series. In this video, we will use the CodeGenHero extension installed in the previous video to generate service classes for a CRUD application based off our database schema, in a fraction of the time it would take to do so by hand. To begin, once again go to the Downloads page on CodeGenHero.com. In the CodeGenHero template section, you'll want to download the CodeGenHero Blazor Template Bundle at the top of the section, or alternatively, clone and build it from its source on GitHub. We will be using this template bundle to scaffold out our service classes for the artist site CRUD app. Now, in the artist site solution created in the previous video, click on the Extensions menu and hover over CodeGenHero in the Open dropdown to open up the submenu for the extension. In the second dropdown, click on CodeGenHero Main Window to open up the Extensions tab. In order to use CodeGenHero, you must log in with an account that has a license. Under Already a Hero, enter the login details you created when registering during the first video in this series. Once logged in, the extension will prompt you to select a CodeGenHero project, which will be used to store CGH configuration and metadata files for this solution. Select the empty CodeGenHero project in Solution Explorer, and then click on Set CodeGenHero Project in the extension. With this step performed, the Metadata tab will now unlock. In the Metadata tab, you will connect CodeGenHero to your database and create a map of its schema, which will be used to generate classes based off your database structure. To begin, click the Create New button next to the My Metadata Sources header. In the window that opens, click New under Choose Database Connection, which will open up a Connection Properties window where you will provide the connection info for your database. Based off where the database was created in the previous videos, enter open parentheses localDB end parentheses /MS SQL localDB. Skip past authentication down to the section Connect to a Database. The drop-down should have Artist Site listed in its available options. If it does not, verify that the server name is entered correctly. Confirm the connection is working by clicking Test Connection, and then click OK to continue. Based off the database's name, the Create Metadata Source window will populate with some defaults. The first two fields are for your DB context and entities. We recommend changing the namespace to match the path of where you intend your entities and DB context to be generated. In this tutorial, we will be having our entities be generated in the Entities folder of the repository project of our solution. Therefore, we will set the namespace here to artistsite.repository.entities. Next is the name of your DB context class. The default name is fine, but you should keep note of it as the class templates we will be using will need to be configured with the name of your DB context in order to generate correctly. Click the checkbox for Generate Model Classes. This will have CodeGenHero automatically generate a DB context and entity classes for it when your metadata is created. An additional field will be made visible, requesting a path for your DB context and entities to be generated in. In our case, we will select the Entities folder of the repository project as our output destination. Finally, click the OK button to have CodeGenHero generate your metadata file for the artist site database. Now that you have metadata active, you can now open the Blueprint tab. The Blueprint tab is simple. A blueprint in CodeGenHero stores what templates have been selected, and configuration values for those templates. While you are here, you can optionally rename the default blueprint file created for you, or move on to selecting the templates you want to generate classes from. When you open the Templates tab for the first time, you will be greeted with a dialog prompt asking you to import a template bundle. Click Yes to open a file selection dialog. Navigate to where you downloaded the CodeGenHero Blazor template bundle earlier, which should have the name CodeGenHero .template.blazor6.cgh package. Once loaded, the UI will swap to an inner tab, listing available templates. For our purposes, we'll select every template available here, and move on to configuring them in the next tab. Entering the Configure tab for the first time, CodeGenHero will scan your templates for common configuration variables and prompt you to convert any it finds to global variables. Global variables, as the name suggests, are variables that are shared between all active CodeGenHero templates. Conversely, templates have template variables, which are only used in the scope of that template. You can promote a template variable to global by right-clicking on one and clicking Convert to Global Variable. When a template variable is promoted to global, all other template variables with a matching name and other active templates become promoted as well, converged into a single global variable. Most of the values here are good as is in their defaults for our purposes, but there are a few values that should be changed for this project. We'll want to change the base namespace value to artist site to match the solution name. This feeds into all the other namespace variables defaults, which are relative to this base namespace value. They reference this variable by wrapping its name in brackets, similar to string interpolation in C#. Namespace postfix can be set to AS for artist site. This variable is primarily meant to differentiate between classes generated by different metadata sources. Say, if you had an application that interacted with multiple databases with potentially overlapping table names, this would provide a simple way to separate their names. While you're in here, you should check on the DB context name and entities namespace variables and ensure they match with your generated DB context and its namespace created when you generated metadata for the artist site database. If you want to know what a variable is for, you can hover over its name and a tooltip will appear with the variable's description. You can find the recommended configuration values for the sample project in the description below. Once you're done here, there's one more configuration step to do before we generate code. In the next tab, Map, you'll set where a template's generated code will be outputted to. The structure of the project template used here provides a set of folders recommended for the code generated by these templates to be mapped to. Mapping comes in two parts. First, setting which project a template's output will be part of. And second, which folder in the project code should be generated in. A written list of recommended mappings for these templates that we will use can be found in the description below. Once you're finished setting mappings for all your selected templates, you are now ready to generate code. Finally, in the Merge tab, code for your selected templates will begin generating immediately. After a few moments, they will be ready for you to add to your solution. Click Select All, and then Process Files. To make sure everything generated correctly, build your solution. Your project should build without any issues. If there are compiler errors, check where they are and review your configuration settings, and regenerate if any changes need to be made. If changes do need to be made, when you regenerate your code, you can filter the list of generated files down to only what changed by clicking on the drop-down for Filter by Action and setting it to Merge. Then, select all and click Update Selections to set their action to update, which will overwrite the originally generated files when processed. In our next video, we will go over setting up dependency injection for the generated classes in this solution, allowing our application, API, and repository to make use of the generated service classes through their interfaces.